Hello everyone and welcome to Music Theory with GUIM. In this installment we're going to be taking a look at an example of the Italian Augmented 6th. This example is brought to us by Franz Schubert and comes from his piece Mignon II D727. And before we begin, make sure you check the description below for relevant links if you wish to continue your edification beyond this video. Alright, so we're going to be looking at measures 1 through 4, where 2 instances of the Augmented 6th occur. I find this to be a great example of implementing the Augmented 6th in a very simple manner. Not only that, but it's also an example of using the Augmented 6th as an introductory element for the piece. Using the Augmented 6th as an introduction is a really bold choice because it's such a dramatic device. So using it early on means you have to live up to that drama and maintain interest. Anyways, let's go ahead and pull up the sheet music and have a listen to it. Now that we know what we're looking at, let's jump in and analyze what is happening. First off, the key for this piece is B minor. Later the piece incorporates the parallel major, which is commonplace for Schubert, but for the duration of this example will only be in the key of B minor. As a result, the opening B minor chord is our 1 chord. It's spelled in a simple closed root position with only 3 tones. Directly following this is our Augmented 6th chord. Our initial indication is, of course, the Augmented 6th between G and E sharp, but we can further specify this as being an Italian Augmented 6th due to the inclusion of only the 3rd and Augmented 6th in relation to the bass tone. With F sharp major, the 5 chord, following the Augmented 6th chord, we hear that the device has been applied in a conventional manner, which is to use it as a predominant chord. The voice leading has also been addressed conventionally. The Augmented 6th interval resolves in contrary motion to an octave of F sharp, and we see parallel thirds descending. Following this, we see ascending parallel thirds, which brings us back to the 1 chord. We essentially repeat the same information, but this time there is a decorative melodic fragment in the highest voice. Initially, the 1 chord's voicing is as originally stated, but then we hear F sharp leap up to B on beat 2, followed by a descending leap to G on the AND of 2, which we can simply view as a non-chord tone. On beat 3, where we expect to hear an Augmented 6th, we're delayed by the occurrence of F sharp in the highest voice rather than E sharp. For those of you that are very chord-oriented, this looks like a G major 7 chord. However, we can also view it as a suspension brought on by retaining the 5th of the previous B minor harmony. Either way, it sounds great, and initially the chord sounds very sweet like major 7th chords tend to be, but then that Augmented 6th sneaks back in and brings us a rush of tension before proceeding to the 5 chord F sharp major. Again, the voice leading is conventional for an Italian Augmented 6th. The Augmented 6th resolves in contrary motion to the octave of F sharp, and the thirds descend in parallel motion. Unlike before, however, we do not hear the ascending parallel thirds, but this is because now the vocal line will enter and the introduction will conclude. This also means that the video will conclude. Before doing so, however, there are 2 things I would like to mention. The first is that you should really be mindful of the fact that you do not have to initially state an Augmented 6th chord as an Augmented 6th chord. You can introduce that tension at a later point and, as we see here, even introduce that which you'll be resolving to. It's similar to how a 5-7 chord can start off as just a simple 5 triad and then become the 5-7 chord at a later point. The other thing I'd like to mention is how the melodic statement in measure 3 utilizes the root progression. Not only that, but it also maintains the ratio or harmonic rhythm in a diminutive manner. By this I mean that we originally see the sequence of B, G, and F sharp as 2 half notes followed by a whole note, and even though F sharp major isn't written as a whole note, we still hear the harmonic rhythm as such. Anyways, when the melody comes in, we also hear the same rhythmic sequence, only this time as 2 eighth notes followed by a quarter note. Of course, this could very easily be a coincidence noticed after the fact. I have no idea, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised if it was implemented initially with conscious intent. Anyways, just a random thought about this example that you might find inspiring. Alright, so go check out this piece in full. One thing I'd recommend is listening to the piece and seeing if you can notice any other Augmented 6th chords. Also ask yourself, how did Schubert manage to keep the piece interesting following such a bold introduction? And of course, if you happen to have any questions about the video's content, feel free to reach out and ask. Otherwise, thank you for watching another episode of Music Theory with GUIM.